I'd like to begin this brief demonstration to show you some of the advantages of using manufacturing. So if we go to departments and we go to manufacturing, go to capacities, I'd like to start with work centers. So when you're using the manufacturing package, it allows you to define your work centers. These are areas where work is being done. They can be specific machines like mills or lathes. They can be an assembly department, a packaging department. They can even be subcontracting. So I'm going to start by opening one of these up just so we can take a look at it. And you can see we give it a number, a description of what the center is. We can have a direct and an indirect cost on these, and this is set up at 45 cents per minute. This could be set up per hour, per unit, per day, any of those kinds of calculations that we would want to. And it has efficiency and capacity ratings that we can talk about at a later time. But you can define all of your various work centers. So if I leave this work center and we go back out and take a look at this subcontracting one, the basic difference between this, of course, we've assigned a number and a description, but the basic difference is that we have a direct cost of $5, and this is set up per unit as opposed to per minute or per hour. And we give it a subcontractor number. This is a vendor number. If we drill into here, what we're actually looking at is all of our vendors. So I can set this up for a single vendor. But the good news is that I can change this at the time that I actually send out the PO. So I could create a work center for all of my subcontracting vendors, or I could use a single one, and at the time I create the PO, I can actually switch the vendor, and I'll demonstrate that for you. Once you've defined your work centers, we need to actually go in and define our shop calendar. So we have the work center set up, but now we have to tell it how many shifts we have, how many hours, and how many days per week those shifts are working. So we have 2 shifts set up here. We have 1 shift that's Monday through Friday and 2 shifts that are Monday through Friday. So if we take a look at this, we can configure the working days for this. So for this particular shop calendar, we're working Monday through Friday from 8 to 4 p.m. If we look at this second shift and look at its work days, it says 2 shifts Monday through Friday. Here we see that it's from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. So they've just combined all of the hours of 2 shifts into a single entry here, and they're calling it shift 2. So you can define these any way that you basically want to. You also can define your holiday calendar. Now there isn't anything here, but you would make a date entry in here for January 1st, 2025, New Year's Day, and so on and so forth, and list all of your holidays in this table, and the program knows that you're not working on those days, so it doesn't schedule or plan any work.
So the net result of this is that if we go back and look at our work centers, now that we've set up a calendar and it knows how many hours per day you're working and how many days per week, we actually can take a look at the capacity and calculate the capacity that this has available. These work centers that we have are all set up using minutes. This could be in hours. But if we look at the calendar for this and show this matrix, we can see that here are our work centers that are set up. Here are the minutes that are available in September, October, November, and December based upon the number of days in the month. And it's calculated 28,800 minutes are available in September for this particular center, and so on and so forth. So, and this is based upon the calendar that we have attached to each of these work centers. So once we have the capacity calculated, we can then actually go to a work center. This happens to be work center 100. We were looking at 300 a minute ago. But I can go to 100 and I can actually look at the load on this work center. Now there isn't much out here because this is a little demo system, but you can see here the load actually begins. In other words, I have allocated capacity of 200 minutes allocated to this on Friday, 121 on Monday, and 75 on Tuesday. So you can see that it takes the capacity that you have, it has the amount of time you've actually allocated to it from production orders, gives you the availability afterwards, and shows you your load. We're loaded at 13.9% of this particular work center. So this is how it actually functions, and you can see the load on these machines by Workcenter. So a lot of your questions that you had asked me to try to work through for you revolved around subcontracting. So I want to just go out and show you a couple of things here. One, there's a subcontracting dispatch list, which if I run, this is a report. If I run this, what this does is it looks at any purchase order or any production order or purchase order that has anything to do with subcontracting. So as you can see, there are no entries on this. So what I want to do is go out and create a new released production order. And this released production order has a subcontracting job on it. So what I'm going to do is just pick new, and I'm going to do this for a speaker assembly, an LS100 speaker assembly. We're going to do this for a quantity of 10 of these. So I'm going to tab off of this line, and I'm just going to refresh this production order. So the production order has been refreshed, and now if we look at the routing for this, we can see that we have a subcontracting job on here for this. So I'm going to just close this up. And what I want to do is go back and we'll take a look at this subcontracting dispatch list. And when I run the report, I now see that I have a subcontracting job out here with a remaining quantity of 10 to do work on. It has a starting and an ending date, and it gives me a description of the product, and it tells me what production order number it's on. So I'm going to go back into my production order here for a moment, and I want to look at my routing steps. And this happens to be done at the very last routing step, but we're going to do it first just to illustrate kind of what's going on here. And the reason I want to do that is just to kind of alleviate your questions about subcontracting. So I'm going to close this up. And whenever we have any work to do in subcontracting, there are specific tables or functions that we use to do that. So there's something called a subcontracting worksheet here. And as you can see, there's nothing in this worksheet, but if I ask it to calculate subcontracting, this will find that open subcontracting job that I have. Now, it's for this production order number, which is 101016, and it has a description of subcontracting, and I can actually change this if I want to for prod 101016, and it's for 10 pieces. And as I told you a little while ago, this is the vendor number, but I could change this vendor number to any vendor number that I want. So here we're going to change this to vendor 10,000 instead of 30,000, and this will actually create a purchase order to this vendor for us. So all I need to do is to just simply carry out action message here, and this will create the purchase order to this particular subcontracting vendor. So I'm going to leave here for a moment under manufacturing. I'm going to go to production orders. I'm going to order these by from vendor number 10,000, and this is the new order that just got created. So this is for a quantity of 10 of these. And if we slide down to the end, the descriptions and various things are kind of out of sync with everything that's going on here. But you can see that this is done in Workcenter. It's production order number 1000. It's done in Workcenter, excuse me, that's line number 1000. It's done in Workcenter 500, and it's operation 50 on our production order. So this shows you that it's actually linked to this, this particular production order for us. So what I can do with this is that I'm going to just leave this for 1 sec. And I'm going to go back over to my subcontracting dispatch list. And I'm going to run this again. And now you see that there's a quantity on purchase order shown of 10 here. So I have a remaining quantity of 10, but now that I've created the purchase order, I can actually see that those 10 are on a PO out to the subcontractor to do the work for me. So I'm going to go back to that purchase order now, and now I'm actually going to receive and invoice it. So I need an invoice number here for my from my vendor. And I'm just going to post this for a quantity of 10 of these. So I'm going to receive an invoice. And this is posted this. Do I want to look at the posted invoice? No, I don't really care about that. So I'm just going to close this up. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go back to my subcontracting dispatch list. And when I run this, my dispatch list is now blank because I've completed the cycle of that. So anything you might have 50 of these out here, but you can see how many are remaining, how many are on purchase order, and you can actually see the status of where all of these are. So if I go back to my production order, my release production order here, and we take a look at this, what we'll find now is that if we go into the ledger entries, we'll see that this $50, $5 each for these 10 units has been recorded as a subcontracting job out here. So because subcontracting is set up as a work center, the subcontracting comes through as a capacity ledger entry. So if I look at the statistical page for this, I can see that I have expected cost and I have actual cost. And here, this is my subcontracting cost. It was expecting $50, and I now have an actual cost of $50 posted against this. This item is set up for standard costing. You can see that the standard costing fields are filled out. A lot of these entries that we have for material, for components, and for labor don't match the standard cost, so they'll look a little different. But you'll be able to see as we do this that the actual costs are being filled out as we're recording on the costs that we currently have in the system. So if I go back, I'm in my production order here. If I go back to the line and go to the production journal, what I'm going to see in the production journal is that this wants to output 10 of these through each of these routing steps. It wants to output 10 and 40 of these items in order to complete this. And the piece that's missing here is the actual run or setup time that we have on these. So we're producing 10 of these, and this was 12 minutes each. This was 15 minutes, so we should have 150 here. If we're looking at the costs that we had expected, that were the labor we had expected. And this was set up at 8, so it should be 80. Now, the good news is that the machine time program that we're looking at providing for you actually fills these in as labor is actually being done. And it posts the quantity output at that point in time. So here I could say I've got 30 minutes on this and I've output 3. And when I came back in here, I would have the remaining quantities of 7 to actually output, and it'd be waiting for another time entry. So the machine time program actually updates these in real time as they're being done. Here, just for illustration's sake, I'm just hand populating these. And if you didn't have the machine time program, you could actually go in and hand populate these yourself. So for the sake of illustration here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually change this to 100 minutes. And I'm going to change this to 5. And I'm going to change this to 0 and this to 0. Now, when I post this, what this should actually do for me is it should leave these, this should come back when I come back in and say there's still 5 remaining, there's 10 remaining here. But I'm going to post all the material to this all at one time. So let's go up and click the post button, tell it to post these transactions. So the journal line's posted successfully. So if I exit out of here, and I go out and look at my statistics now, I see now that I actually have capacity ledger costs that were $5. They've gone up dramatically now. I have $50 worth of subcontracting, and so you can see that the material cost has gone to $900 and so on and so forth. So this is actually posting this real time as we're moving along through the program. If I go back to my production journal here for a moment, you'll see that we have 5 of these left to finish. The material's all been posted, but we still have labor to post against these two, and we want to output production against these various routing steps that are here. So in order to finish that, we could go into here, we could enter in a quantity of 100 because that's what we had on that. And on this other one, we had 80, so this would be a total of 80. So what was expected on these. So here we're going to finish this up basically. We had 10 here left to do, 5 here. We're finishing this all up in one step. And again, the machine time labor collection program would actually update these in real time as work is being done against these operations. I can hit post this out, and these were successfully posted. So if I come back into this journal again, I'm going to see everything in here as zeros. The statistics page, labor is continuing to, the capacity ledger entry cost is continuing to climb here. We can now go out and we can actually look at entries for this. We can see item ledger entries. So here is all of the material that was against this, as these components were actually used on the production order. I can see the capacity ledger entries. And so it's you can see that everything is being posted up against these guys. I can also, if I go to the item ledger entries here, I can also navigate and I can go to GL entry lines. And if I look at the GL entry lines out here, I can see all of the GL entries where everything posted to the GL account numbers and so on and so forth, where all of the transactions took place for this particular order. So it's a nice, neat package that that the production process puts together for you. And when you're done with this, when this order is completely finished, which this one is, I can go to Actions, I can change its status, and I can tell it to go to a finished production order. And what this program is doing actually is that as work is being done, it's putting it into a WIP account. And when I finish this, it will actually reverse the transactions and take it out of WIP and post it to cost of goods sold and so on and so forth. So when I finish this, it tells me now that the finished production order has, that it's changed and its status is now finished. And if I go to, let's go back out here one more, manufacturing, and then I go to archive, I'll see finished production orders. And the finished production orders are listed out here for you. And we just completed one for this LS loudspeaker here. So this is its finished production order. And one of the things that you'll find interesting about this is that when you navigate to the ledger entries and everything is the same here, except for when we look at the GL entries. And the GL entries will be different because you'll, at this juncture now, you should see all the reversing entries take place to this to take it out of the WIP accounts and then put it into the cost of goods sold and so on and so forth. So I hope this answers most of your questions about how the production system functions, how it tracks subcontracting work, and hopefully this will be helpful to you.